Everybody, welcome back to Final Resonance TV and the first episode of my new podcast called Welcome to Rockville. We're going to be talking about artist releases today with my amazing buddy, Phil X. You know him from Bon Jovi, but also Phil X and the Drills, and he has a new record out today called Pow, right in the kisser.
I love how everybody says it like that.
Pow. That's a great title. But you know what? I went back to your older albums and I realized you have great titles on all your albums.
Well, thank you, Jeff. It's not a coincidence.
Right. That's so cool. But you know, most of you people know that Phil plays with Bon Jovi too. But what they don't maybe know is that you play with Triumph, which I kind of found out recently. I was like, "What? Triumph?
What?
I didn't know that."
Dude, I have a friend that I've hung out with I don't know how many years, and we've played together, and we've gone on a rock trip together, and then bam. He was watching the Triumph documentary and he lost his mind when he found out I was in the band for like 7 minutes. It was crazy. He called me immediately. What? Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Well, because I was like a big fan of Rick Emmett growing up, man. And yeah.
Me too.
I used to play like Spellbound in high school, you know, off that record.
Oh my God, me too.
Right? Such a cool record. Yeah, so I saw that and I was like freaked out a little bit by that. But you know, I knew you did the Daughtry record. You did all of the guitars on that.
Yeah, there's some records that I'm really, really proud of. The Daughtry record was crazy because it was like a calling card. Because I put my Phil X thumbprint all over that record.
Right.
And all these producers heard the record and they're like, hey, when we do guitars, we got to get the guy who did the Daughtry record.
Right.
And that started happening a lot. So that was 2006 when that came out. Sold 5 million units.
Right. Woo! Well, I used to play at home all the time. So yeah, I know that record pretty well.
Oh yeah. There was one producer, I didn't know what a session contractor was.
Okay.
So a session contractor called me and said, hey, are you available to work with this guy on Friday? And I'm like, sure. And can you bring the acoustic guitar that you used on Home? And yeah, I can.
Right.
But there's that specific, you know?
Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, you know, this Tommy Lee thing, it kind of ties into this new project. And I want to kind of go back to the beginning of this Tommy Lee story. I remember hearing the story originally that you were like painting his garage. Somehow
not his garage, but the producer's garage.
Okay.
And, you know, they were working on the record and Tommy was like, Scott, we need a guitar player for this record. And Scott said, let's get Phil. And Tommy was, you know, the dude painting the garage.
Right.
And Scott was like, yeah. So I traded the paintbrush for the Les Paul and laid down a couple of tracks. And Tommy freaked out and he was like, dude, you got to play on the whole record. And then Scott said, and dude, you need to finish painting the garage.
That's crazy because, you know, you go back to like all the way back to Aldo Nova in the 90s, you know, like I said, yeah. Triumph too, right? And before that even. But when did you make that move to California?
It was 97.
Okay.
I had ended my, I didn't want to be a side guy anymore. I had my fill of playing other people's music. And I thought I'd give, you know, songs that I had written with my partner at the time a chance. Mm-hmm. And we didn't think we were going to get the chance in Toronto. So we moved to LA. The problem was, even when I moved to LA in 97, I was 31. And for like labels, they're like, no, they're too old. I didn't look 31. I mean, I don't look 59 right now, but I definitely look 31. But they didn't, that was, you know, I remember a lawyer that wanted to represent us because he loved us. And he brought labels to come and see us at the Viper Room.
Right.
And there was one guy who had signed a lot of people. And he was like, okay, they're amazing, but I can't sign them. And he's like, what are you talking about? He goes, if they were 18, I would give them whatever they wanted. And he's like, 18? It wasn't even 25 or 26. It was 18. He was looking for a band that could do that at the age of 18. And I that would be hard to come by. We had great songs, great performance skills, great singer, a great guitar player. I mean, and it went from there. But I mean, I don't know. That's why it kind of like in and in essence, it helped me do other stuff, started being the session guy and playing on so many cool records with so many cool artists, and then becoming the YouTube guy.
Right,
And
right.
if I didn't move to LA, let's take it that far. If I would have stayed in Toronto, there's no way I'd be at Bon Jovi right now.
Right, right. So that was like about 10 years from the time you moved to kind of where you hit your Daughtry phase and all
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
that.
And then also the whole Bon Jovi thing came, and people say, like Garnell, he got found on YouTube, and then bam, now he's been the singer for Journey for 18 years.
Right.
It was the same kind of thing. John Shanks was watching, a bunch of YouTube videos looking for a Les Paul, and then he stumbled onto me and then watched me for like 5 hours. And then we ran into each other at Henson Studios, where his studio was. He had a room there, and I was in Studio D working on something else. And he basically said, man, I couldn't stop watching your videos last night. It sounds like you can play and sing anything, and you're funny as pop. And I was like, well, thanks, man. Appreciate it. And then 2 weeks later, John Bon Jovi called John Shanks and said, we might need a guy to fill in for Richie Sambora. And John's like, I think I have a guy. So he called me, and then he says, I think I have a gig for you. And I'm like, what's the gig? And he said, I can't tell you over the phone. Can you come by my studio tomorrow? And then I walk in, and he goes, here's a contract, and here's a statement of confidentiality. How do you feel about filling in for Richie Sambora and Bon Jovi? Like, that's not possible. No, nobody can do that. No, that's not possible. Is that even possible? And he was like, well, they need a guy. And I told him, you're the guy, and you have 5 seconds. So it kind of went like that. And then lawyers and management companies talked over it or talked it over. And then, bam, I got the call from John himself, April 14th, 2011, saying, hey, we need you. And there you go. Wow. Now it's history.
Yeah, right, man. That's amazing that that whole process.
I realized this morning that April 2nd, I think, will be 12 years.
That's right.
Yeah, that was when they called me and said, hey, we need you tonight in Calgary. And I was like, tonight? Like, I hadn't played Bon Jovi. That was 2013, so I hadn't played Bon Jovi songs in 2 years. And, and even John was like, yeah, so we got a new record out. I was wondering if you could learn these 3 songs for tonight. And I was like, you probably don't hear no a lot, but no. I need my flight to revisit everything I played 2 years ago, let alone new songs. You're crazy.
Right.
And he goes, hey, no, I totally get it. Learn them for tomorrow.
Right.
And that's how it went.
Wow. Yeah, I got to see you guys, probably about 4 or 5 years ago when you came to Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
For a show, yeah. Yeah.
That was a good one.
I don't know if you remember this, but I said I opened up for you, but I didn't really.
Well, anybody could say that. Hey, we opened for you in 2017 because every opening act was a radio contest winner. So anybody can walk up to me, hey, man, we opened for you. And I'd be like, oh, that's nice. I tried to watch as many opening bands as I could because I really wanted to see what was out there. It
was hilarious because we actually played in one of the VIP lounges next to you guys. So when you were doing your sound check, I was setting up.
Oh, that's
I was doing acoustic over there. Yeah, I was doing acoustic. Like they have the bar for the VIP lounge right next to the hole. So we were in there, and I was hearing your sound check. Then I watched your show, of course. But
that's cool. That's super cool.
That's before. I mean, I don't think I really knew you at that point, but that's been about 6 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, we started talking. It was after the black hole of the pandemic that we met, right?
The Van Halen stories. Yeah, that was probably the first time we got together. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. I love it. I could talk Van Halen all day long.
I know, me too.
But hey, so our new record came out today.
Let's talk about your record. Yeah, Hal Wright and the Kissers. So this thing, why you had these other records from Bill X and the Drills, but this process has gone on for 10 years of these songs.
Well, I mean, life. We kind of in 2019 we released the EP Stupid Good Lookings Volume 1, and that, I guess, instead of it being Volume 1, it kind of turned into a teaser of this record.
Okay.
You know, like 6 songs, 6 different drummers. And, you know, because we kept going, I kept writing, I kept calling other drummer friends to play on it. And then, I mean, it would have ended up being like 3 volumes. And then that's too much like an encyclopedia for me. So I thought, you know what? We have 11 songs. Let's just put out a new record on a new label, Frontiers.
Right.
Signed it over the summer.
Right.
And then bam. I mean, let's make a fresh start. So this is our first effort with Frontiers, and 11 drummers on 11 songs. And you know, it's funny because somebody mentioned this and I didn't even think about it. People get guest guitar players and guest vocalists all the time, but you got 11 drummers. And I'm like,
right.
I do. 11 drummers drumming. Yeah. So
right.
I mean, every drum situation has a story. There's a lot of guys that I worked on other artists' records with. So, and when you're in a room, when you're on the live floor recording for anybody, you become pals.
Right.
You know, you have this instant chemistry happening. There's a camaraderie. There's a what'd you order for lunch? There's the whole hang happening.
Right.
And you get to make music.
Right.
So bam, his number is in my phone book and my number is in his phone book. Hey, I need guitar on something. No problem. Hey, can you play on my record? No problem. It was a really amazing way it happened. Like Kenny, for instance, Kenny Aronoff,
right,
who's on Way Gone, Beat Me Up, Scotty, in parentheses.
Right.
I can't even count how many records we've played on together. So that was a really cool, that was an easy in. You know, Tommy, I played on all his solo records.
Right.
But when you ask Tommy Lee to play on your record and he says yes, you don't want to just pitch any song. I created the song for Tommy Lee. So, excuse me, how I did that was I was looking on YouTube for a live drum solo from a Motley Crue show, and I found this groove that he was just wailing on. And I'm like, what is this? And just the groove was awesome. And Tommy, you know, he gets the meat and potatoes drummer label a lot because of Motley Crue. But man, I'm working on his records and being in a room recording with him. I was like, what a pocket. What a fill. Like, I mean, he's really creative and in the pocket and solid. And I wanted to capture that. So that's why I picked that solo. So I wrote Fake the Day Away to that drum solo beat.
Right.
And how involved he got, which is awesome, is I sent him a vocal and a guitar and he sampled it, put a loop on it and slowed it down about 10 beats per minute and sent it back to me and said, I love it, but this is the tempo. Because he just wants to get the heads nodding, you know?
Right.
Bobbing. Nodding, bobbing.
Bobbing.
Let's say that. He wants to get the heads bobbing.
Right.
Anyways, and then when we got in the studio with me, Tommy, and Daniel, and we're rocking it on the floor, we're like, okay, he's like, let's slow it down even more, and let's slow it down even more. And I'm like, you're the boss, man. If this is the tempo, this is the tempo, and that's the tempo that you hear on the record. So I'm pretty happy with that. It came out great. There's so many songs. I mean, we played it. We were talking about us playing in Texas a couple of weekends ago, and we played that Fake the Day Away song every night. And and there was a couple of times where I forgot. I thought I was just listening to the record.
Right.
So I forgot I was doing the solo. So actually, I got lost. I whoa, hey dude, keep playing. It's not the record, it's you.
Right.
And here comes the last chorus. 3, 2, 1, go. It was like so distracting how good it sounded. So I mean, but that music has that amazing thing to it, you know. There's nothing like it. It's just magical all the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the groove and the production on that's really good. It's it kind of surprised me when I first heard it because you had that sort of was it a harmonic minor kind of melody going on with your vocal?
You know what? It's a minor harmonic. It's the evil note and the drone.
Right.
Very Greek, actually. The drone is Greek and the evil note is very Greek. And the timing is just not. It's kind of like this weird thing, and I think that's what Tommy really liked about it too. But the vocal isn't minor harmonic. It's just minor,
Okay.
but it just it was very different for us. Very different for us lyrically, and very different for us melodically, and the way I'm singing too. Because, and I get into the drills for me is very vocally demanding. Like the way I sing "Don't Wake Up Dead" is way different than the way I sang "Fake the Day Away." And then when I'm doing "Fake the Day Away," I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that. And then bam, I did it, and it was like, okay, that happened. And we only played "Don't Wake Up Dead," which is one of my favorite tracks on the record with Ray Luzier on drums.
Mm-hmm.
We only played that once in Fort Worth on Friday, and I didn't think it went well.
Mm.
I thought, okay, that was just okay. And then so we didn't do it in Houston the next night. But then this guy posts a video of us playing it, and I'm not moving around that much because it's a very demanding vocally and guitar wise song.
Right.
So I'm not moving around much. I'm not being the Phil X getting all over the place. It's just me standing there and performing the song. But it came out great, like way better than I thought when we played it. And that's another thing about music too, right? You sometimes you don't know how well you did until you listen back.
Right, right. You always think it's more terrible than it was.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I'm like, I don't know, man. And then you see it like, oh, that went so bad.
Well, that happened. That happened with me. Like when a couple of times that I played with Bon Jovi, where I felt like, oh, what a clam! Oh my God, I hope nobody heard that. And then I watched YouTube the next day, and it just went right by me.
Right, right.
And when that happens, it's awesome.
Right, right. No doubt. So your tone, on that particular song, it's a little, I don't know, maybe the mix just seems isn't it CLA mixing that one, Chris Lord Alge?
Yes, Chris
Okay.
Lord Alge
So
track.
so there's a little bit of ambience in that track where a lot of your stuff is pretty dry and in your face. You're like guitar tone, and so that guitar tone being so dry in your face. Nuno talks about that too. About that's really a good way to record that. I mean, how did you come about with that sort of drier tone?
For me, the dry, it's there's a lot of
Because if you listen to Triumph, it's not dry at all.
It's not dry. To me, sometimes I listen to stuff and things get lost.
Right.
If there's a lot of delay and a lot of nuances get lost. Like
right. Because there's a lot of density in these songs. Yeah.
There's a lot of nuances that get lost if it's too wet. And even on Stupid Good Lookings, when I did the homage to Van Halen with Rock and Roll You All Night Long, Chris had this delay through the whole rhythm track. Instead of reverb on the right, he put a delay, so it would kind of be still an homage to Van Halen, but not the exact same thing because my playing was different. I didn't do Eddie licks in my homage to Ed. I did Phil X licks, like no tapping, no whammy bar, just licks that I've come up with over the years, and I inserted that into that present vibe. And then the delay that Chris put on it sounded amazing, but in the solo, I lost some of the notes. I lost some of the fire. So I called Chris and I go, dude, I think this track sounds amazing, but you have to back off the delay on the solo so I can hear every note. And he's like, done. And he sent it back and it was perfect. But I mean, that kind of thing is really, stuff can add depth. On No Woman of Mine from the same record, I was listening to it and I heard like Leslie on the delay on the right hand side, and I'm like, oh my God, I would have never done that. And that was Chris who mixed that as well. He's just a genius. He's awesome.
Right. Yes.
But when it comes to Fake the Day Away, I heard it dry, but there's something really cool about it. And it's funny because there was a comment about the song and it said, man, that guitar at the beginning sounds like bees. And I'm like, mission accomplished. Mm-hmm. They're angry bees.
Right. No, I didn't think it was.
There's a lot of angst in that. My favorite guitar thing is because it's the first song when we recorded "Don't Wake Up Dead" with Ray. I felt like he sat at the kit and we kind of ran it. And then when we started to lay it down, I was like, this is going to open the record. This is what the Drills is about. This is, hey, this is going to be a new chapter of the Drills, but we're going to give you something a little familiar first.
Right.
And it's a 3-piece. Like I love a stereo image of guitar on that song, and also a song like Battleship. You Sunk My Battleship. I recorded that left guitar that you hear on Don't Wake Up Dead. I recorded with Ray and Dan, and that's the guitar that you hear.
Right.
And then when I got it home and I was singing and stuff like that to make the stereo image, I doubled the guitar. I made the right guitar do exactly what the left guitar did. Yeah. Now, instead of going to a rhythm part for the solo, I doubled the solo. And I didn't want it to be choppy, like, okay, I got that part. Okay, I got that part. Okay, I got that part. You know, fade everything up and make it. I wanted it to be one performance like it was when I did it that day. But again, when you're playing from the heart, man, you're a different guitar player every day. The timing on it was crazy, and I thought, what was I doing? But when I finally got it and listened back, like the next day with fresh ears, I'm like, what? Okay, so that's amazing. You got drums, killer drums. You got Dan on background vocals and his melodic bass lines, and then you have that angry guitar on the left and the right. Now it's 2 performances, but of one part all the way through. Right. And then my aggressive vocals. And to me, that's what the Drills is all about. So that's what that was.
Yeah. When you guys did the recordings of this with the drummers, did you do them all together all the time, or just sometimes?
As much as we could. Like in the beginning, like the first song that we recorded was one of the songs that was done first was You Sunk My Battleship with Brian Tichy. Right. And that was 2014. And then the last song that was recorded was Seemed Like a Good Idea with Tosh Peterson, who is the new drum guy on the block. And he's amazing. So he came in. Now, there was times that we couldn't do it together because, like, if it was in a different city, for instance, right. Like we recorded Tico in Vegas in 2018 because we had a day off from the Bon Jovi tour. And then in New York, where Liberty DeVito is, we had 2 sold-out nights at Madison Square Garden, and I hired a legendary studio, Power Station, for the legendary drummer Liberty DeVito, and he met me there, and with my engineer buddy Obi O'Brien, and we recorded his drums, and then went to lunch, and then me and Obi walked to soundcheck for night 2 at MSG, and I mean, if Dan could have been there, that would have been amazing. But he wasn't. We were on the road and doing, like, you know, I caught Tico on a day off in Vegas. I'm like, I know you like to golf on your days off, but if you come into the studio and play drums, that would be awesome. And he goes, yeah, man, for sure.
Well, so let me ask you about Tico, because one of the songs that I really loved it's called Find a Way.
Yeah.
And so it has this almost Aerosmithy vibe, and then it has this clav part in the middle. It's like Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
And then then you throw a little Nuno run in there.
I loved the whole thing. That's funny because even when it was done, I sent it to Nuno to check it out, and he was like, "Dude, that song's the surprising chorus and the awesome groove." See, I always loved Tico's funk grooves because there's a little Cuban in there, right?
Right.
He's got that in his drumming. So that was amazing. And I had Last Child by Aerosmith in my head. And I also had Fame by David Bowie in my head.
Yeah. I could feel that. Yeah.
So all that's going on. Plus, I mean, when you got Tico on drums, and then it was last year that I was in the studio recording with Ron Nevison was producing an artist. And Kim Bullard, who is Elton John's keyboard player, was on the session. And we totally hit it off. Again, you hit it off with drummers, you hit it off with the keyboard player. And he's like, hey, send me some music, man. I go, I want you to check out this funk track that Tico played on. So I sent him Find a Way. And then we were talking about it. And I said, you know, I always thought it'd be really cool if Clav was on this track.
Right.
And the next morning, I opened my text, and there's an MP3, and he threw clav on it and organ on the chorus, and he goes, "Hey, if you like these parts, I'll send you the stems so you can mix them in." And that's what happened.
Wow.
But I mean, what an amazing, in Everett, I send the track to Everett, Bradley, who plays with Bon Jovi, and I go, I desperately need tambourine on this.
Right. Right.
So he recorded tambourine at home and sent it to me by a Dropbox, and then bam, now I got tambourine. So
That's wild.
if it didn't happen all at the same time together, which a lot of songs did,
Right.
because I remember Way Gone was with Kenny, me, and Dan, and I remember You Sunk My Battleship was me, Dan, and Tishy, and me and Ray and Dan for Don't Wake Up Dead, and Feel Better is actually Dan's song. I stole from him, and he wrote it, and he's singing lead on it, and it was Ryan McMillan on that. We all played at the same time. There's a lot of songs where we all played at the same time when we could. That's cool. Really awesome, right? Because it's because you get the chemistry really sizzling at that point,
Right. It's important. Yeah. Another song that I loved was Going to California.
Oh, thanks, man.
And
that's an old song.
Huh?
That's a really old song.
I know. Like is it kind of inspired by your trip to California? I mean, it's
yeah, I wrote it because I was also meeting and hanging with a lot of people. Like, you rarely meet someone from California, so everybody you're hanging with is from somewhere else.
Okay.
And everybody's talking about their experience, and my experience was kind of like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I got to go and see what happens and give it my best, and not give up until something happens. And then. And there's that one line, I know someone who knows someone who knows some people, because everybody.
I know, that was a great line.
Everybody knows someone who knows someone who knows some people. It's long. It's a vaster number than 1 degree separation. It's always 2 or 3. Hey, I know this guy who knows that guy. It's that kind of thing,
right? But
there was that, and then there was the lyric where I said. I have a reservation for a hardwood floor. It was actually a futon, but floor was the rhyming word.
Gotcha. So the solo in this is kind of unique because it's more it's less single notey. It's more chordal.
You know what? Thanks for noticing, Jeff.
Yeah. I'm a guitar
player. It would have been way easier to Angus out on that song solo, and I kind of sneak a little Angus in at the end with the vibrato. Right, but I love creating all the time. So even when somebody sends me a song that they want me to do a solo on, I always have to put a little Phil X thumbprint on it.
Right.
And there was something that was very chordal that I did on somebody else's song, and I never did it in one of my songs. So I'm like, I think this is the song. This is going to have that cool little chordal thing that happens, and then a drone note, and then a G, and then the D note droning out with a little lick on top of that. And then I played it like twice, and that's what came out the second time, and I was like, is it just me, or is that fucking cool?
Well, it's a longer solo too, like, to be able to string that all together in one take.
Yeah, it was one of those things where, when you have 2 strings that are a fourth away from each other, and the higher note is G, and then you go down to D, it's almost like that hang 'em high thing. Yeah. There's an open string on to all of that.
Right.
From the D to the A to the E. So this was my version, but playing a different melody and using the G first and then the D, and then doing the end lick. And I was really like, I think I nailed it.
Right. Well, it's a killer solo. Like, it stuck, really stuck out to me in that song in particular too.
Thanks, man.
Listening to that, there's some really there's some stereo guitars, in solos, and like I said, it was kind of dense at times. And certain, like I think it's the last song, "Way Gone."
Yeah.
There's some really wicked solos and killer dual, kind of almost complementing each other, type left and right going on.
Yeah, I like the stereo image sometimes needs to be simple, and exact.
Right, right.
Minus, one or two little phrases where, oh, that sounded intense.
Right.
And then I like the tension. I love the tension. So, and then other times it's like, I think like I'm the one guy, but I split my brain to Brad Whitford and Joe Perry and how they play stuff different. And then you come up with something like Way Gone. And then the solo, I like to solo with the song in mind and the theme of the song in mind and not stray from that just to shred. But
Right.
Way Gone was a shred song out of the gate,
Right.
So that's how I like to serve the song. First of all, I think that the king of the song is the vocal, and everything should complement the vocal.
Right.
And I always talk to Dan. I go, hey man, if there's a vocal break and the guitar's not doing anything, the bass should do something. And then sometimes when you're in a room with all together, there'll be a drum fill that'll inspire me to do something to the drum fill and, hey, go Dan, do this. And then that happens. That's happened before. Dan has his own amazing instinct, so he'll jump on something. But I mean, okay, guys, that take was amazing, but we've got to do one more take. And at the end of the third course, we all got to do this.
That was,
and then that happens.
I just said that I love, was it I love you on her lips, right? Is it called?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's these screams that really, when you say on fire, you keep screaming.
Oh, yeah.
It's like that Van Halen scream. I loved it.
Oh, dude. I don't know. I don't know where that came from, but it's Dan singing the first line and then me singing.
Okay.
And it doesn't hurt that I actually say the two words, she's on fire.
Right.
That doesn't hurt. You totally get Van Halen from that. And it's not a Van Halen-y song at all.
I know, but it's just kind of that, it gives me that little vibe.
Yeah. And then it was funny because I sent the track to Chris Lord Algae to mix. He mixed that one too.
Okay.
And he goes, dude, those fire screaming things are so distorted. Did you mean to distort? I would go, no, I got on the mic a little too hard, but then the performance so good I couldn't redo it. And he goes, I'll make it work. And then he made it work. So
I didn't even
notice
that. I didn't notice that at all in the
yeah, I think he masked it somehow. Technology is awesome.
Yeah, right. So your home studio, how much of it do you do at home?
Well, every
your vocals, right?
Vocals, guitar overdubs. Dan will do his background vocals at his place and send them to me, and that's about it. I mean, if we fix a bass, he'll do the bass at his place and then send it to me. There was a couple of songs, for instance, like I was talking about, seemed like a good idea. I had that song all recorded to a recycled drum track, and then I didn't know I was going to put it on the record. And then there was one day I was vibing on it in the car, and sometimes you don't know if you're digging a song because you've heard it 10 times.
Right. Yeah.
Or it just grew on you. Right. Or it's that good a song.
Right.
So the next week with Fresh Years, I go through my files and I see, oh, it seemed like a good idea. Let's listen to that. I listen to that. I go, that's got to go on the record. I actually took another song off the record to put this on the record. Right. And then I go, I just got to put real drums on it. So everything had been recorded to recycled drums. But then when we got Tosh to play the drums, he played to what was there.
Yeah.
But then when I got home, I'm like, I got to redo the guitars because he's got so much energy. Right. And now where the guitars had energy playing to a recycled track, the drums had energy. So I had to match that energy with new guitars. Right. And then I go, Dan, you got to redo the bass. And then he sent me a new bass. And then we had all our vocals piled on that. I mean, I think that chorus is killer. It would have been a shame if that wasn't on the record.
You guys got a nice vocal blend too. You know, I've seeing you like at NAMM with him and y'all singing together. It's got a nice.
Oh yeah, and it's funny because like I said, he sang the lead vocal on "Feel Better," and some people are like, "Hey man, that sounds different for you." I'm like, "Cause it's not me, it's Dan." But you know what's funny? It reminds me of hanging out with Derek St. Holmes, and he said this great story where he was he sang Stranglehold at a concert, and someone came up to him and said, "Wow, man, I guess Ted's voice was a little sore, and you had to sing it instead, but you sound just like him on the record." And he laughed because he sang it on the record.
Right.
So,
That's
and
funny.
now when we play Feel Better live, you get dancing in it, and they're like, "Oh, it's him." So that's kind of cool.
That is cool. I got to ask you something. We haven't talked about Van Halen much today. a little,
Hit me.
a little.
Hit.
But in the last few weeks, you've had like these great moments where you play with Sammy Hagar, of course. Did you ever play with him before?
We played. Michael Anthony had a fundraiser
Right.
for small children with heart problems. I forget what it's called, but it's a great cause. And he did it down in Costa Mesa, and it was funny because he calls me and he goes, "Okay, so you and me will do somebody to get me a doctor." I'm like, "Yes."
Right.
And then he goes, "And then I want you to do a song with Sammy." And I'm like, "Me too, but I don't do a lot of Van Hagar stuff." And he goes, "No, no. Why don't you do like Rock Candy?" And I learned Rock Candy when I was 13 or 14. So that was like kind of took my breath away. And I'm like, I'm in, I'm down, let's do it. And now I'm actually remembering now that I actually played with Sammy before that. There was a Matt Sorm event that raises money for instruments for schools
Right.
for children.
Right.
And we jammed, I believe we played Bad Motor Scooter, and then we did Whole Lot of Love. And that was jamming. But this playing the other night, see, there was the event that wasn't publicized because it was in front of the SSS Iowa, and it was for fundraising for first responders.
Right.
But 2 days later, the same band, except Richie and Orianti weren't there, but Billy Gibbons was.
Wow. Yeah.
So we were up doing that, and it was funny because we were flying up to San Francisco in a private jet, and I'm sitting beside Sammy, and we're talking about rock and roll and this and that, and then I was playing "Standing on Top of the World," and something went down with my rig too for a whole verse. I figured it out, and it came back in. But that's a tough tune, man. All the early Van Halen stuff, you
Uh-huh.
can kind of sink into your brain and your blood and your fibers, and you can wing stuff, but
Right.
there's no winging "Standing on Top of the World." It's an orchestrated. It's like, to me, when I listen to Ed and Alex on that track, it's kind of like Dutch jazz. There's like these pushes and fallbacks and all this stuff going on. That was a tough thing for me to do because of the rhythm. If me and Matt didn't hit together with the bass, then it all fell apart.
Right.
So
Right.
that was a tough one, but it was really fun to do that. And then there was some really cool moments with Sammy, man. He was like, we're doing rock and roll in the encore,
Uh-huh.
and he looks at me and goes, "Hey, you want to take a verse?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take a verse." And then I start singing, and he's like, "What?" So he can react to it. And he goes, "I didn't know you could sing like that. You got to come to the next Cabo Wabo birthday bash." I'm like,
Right.
"Bring it on."
I'm there. That's
Yeah.
cool. Steve Stevens was there too.
Steve Stevens, killer dude. This is another great story. I gotta tell this one, man,
Go
because
ahead.
we were rehearsing the day before the ship, and Rob Zander was there, and he saw Steve Stevens, and he goes, "Hey, can we do Rebel Yell?" And Steve's like, "Yeah, of course." And Steve looks at me, and he goes, "Hey, do you know Rebel Yell?" I go, "No." He goes, "Here, I'll show it to you." So
You're
we
right.
got Rob Zander singing Rebel Yell, and Steve Stevens showed me how to play it on guitar. And the cool thing is, I walk up to Steve later and I go, "You gave me one of the best stories ever tonight, right?" He goes, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Robin Zander wanted to sing Rebel Yell, so Steve Stevens showed me how to play Rebel Yell." That's a that's a kick-ass story. And
Right.
he laughed like he kind of like, "Come on, you're making me blush," kind of thing. I'm like, "No, dude, that's killer shit."
Right. Right. Yeah. He was on Van Halen stories too. He was a
Oh
great
yeah,
he was a great guest. Great guy, man. That's
he's a
great.
great dude, man. We laughed a lot. We
I
laughed a
bet.
lot.
It looked like
Yeah.
fun. I mean, I was watching all those clips thinking, man, I can't believe you're getting you even posted later about how you were just bowled over by all that.
Yeah, it was because it was last minute for me. I asked to do a couple of songs, and then Matt Storm called me and said, "Hey, you know how you want to do a couple of songs?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Can you play the whole night?" Like, what? Can you
Right.
send me a set list, and I'll take a look at it and let you know. And then when I first saw the set list, I'm like, man, I don't know if I can do all that. And then I called him and said, okay. So, I mean, you got to jump in, right?
Well,
Test the water.
weren't you? I mean, if you played Bon Jovi with Sam Borer, right?
Yeah.
So had you ever played any of his songs with him?
No, well, everybody forgets that we played the Rock Hall of Fame together in
Oh, that's right.
2018.
That's right.
So, yeah, there was 9 of us on there because Alec was still alive.
Right.
And
That's
so
right.
we played Living on a Prayer then.
Okay.
And then, this was it, but it's funny the comments that fly, right?
It's like
The
what?
comments are like, people are like, wait a minute, they like each other. So the funny one thing is he's playing the riff, right? He's
Right.
playing the riff, and he's got an octave instead of a talk box, and that's cool because he's Richie Sambora. He can do whatever he wants.
Right.
And
Right.
then Orianti's playing the same riff, but an octave higher a little bit. So they don't need a third guy playing the riff.
Right.
So I did the chordal part. So they're going bam bam boom bam, and I go bam bam.
Right.
Layout. Bam, 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 bam. So the one time that I laid out, I saw a friend of mine in the front row, and I always joke with my friends in the front row, right? So when I was laying out, I looked at my fake watch, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So the comments you get are like, "Holy shit, Richie walked on stage and didn't acknowledge Phil." And then the other one was, "Oh my God, Phil looked at his watch."
Right.
It's like, come on, people.
That's hilarious, man. Because I watched
Like,
that.
we're adults. I think we can behave in public. I think we're good, you know?
Yeah, it was cool though. It was cool to see all everybody be up there on stage together. It was cool to see that.
It was, what, it was amazing. The one that wasn't publicized that I keep talking about was
Yeah, yeah,
Billy Gibbons.
yeah, yeah.
And I got to play with him all night. We did like 5, 6 songs, and it was unbelievable. But he showed up with he went to the gig without a guitar. So he went to a shop and bought a Squire Strat for $150, brand new. And then he put masking tape in the shape over the Squire because he wasn't going to have that. And there was still the plastic film that you get on the pickups.
Right.
And so he came up to me, and he was showing me something, and I was saying, "I'm going to do this." He goes, "Great." I go, "Is that a new guitar?" He goes, "Yeah, I just bought it for $150. And I'm like, "You're going to keep the plastic film on the pickups, right?" He goes, "Hell yeah." It was like, dude, he played that guitar all night. Like,
Wow.
it wasn't set up, and he didn't have a guy like restring it.
Right.
Store. The life of the strings were in the store, from the factory to the store. And he just, whatever.
So which songs did you do of his?
We did Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers.
All right.
Sharp Dressed Man. We did LaGrange. And it was a private birthday party, and the birthday boy wanted to get up and jam LaGrange too. So he did that.
Cool.
And then we also did, he does this really cool Waiting for the Bus / Jesus in Chicago.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
kind of did that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And people are like, "I don't know those songs." Yes, you do. As soon as those songs start,
Oh
you
yeah.
know those songs.
Right. Right. Right.
There was one moment, and there hasn't been a moment like this in a really, really long time, because my ear is so trained that I hear stuff and I know what it is, right?
Right.
And the way he played Jesus in Chicago. No, Waiting for the Bus.
Remember
It
the
was, and then Matt's like, "Phil, get on the Have Mercy." Okay, have mercy. You know, that kind of thing, right? But the whole point is he started playing the riff. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on there? He was playing it like this whole other rolling 2-finger on the right hand thing that I couldn't figure it out. And if I pick the guitar up right now, I wouldn't be able to do it for you. So I got to wait for the next time that I get to play with the man, so I can go, what are you doing there? So, and he was so cool, dude. And then the other thing is I have to mention about Sammy is, aside from playing with each other and hanging out, I was like, hey man, you know, because we had already hit it off, and I was like, hey man, can I don't know if you pimp friends' songs or anything like that, but if you could, if you could, you know, check out this tune that I just put out and maybe put up a blurb about it, that would be amazing. And he goes, well, Phil, I have to tell you, I just don't put anything up on my Instagram. It's kind of close to me, kind of special, you know. It has to be like, it's very personal. But if I like the song, I'll do something for Facebook. And I'm like, hey man, any shout out would be great.
Right.
So 2 days later, I'm literally rehearsing with Bon Jovi, and I look down at my phone, and there's a text that came in from Sammy Hagar, and I'm like, fuck, I gotta wait to read that. Fuck, you know.
Right,
and then John goes, okay, guys, take 5. So we take 5, and I pick up the phone, and he goes, Phil, the video came out so great, I put it on my Instagram.
Awesome. Man.
And I thought, what a cool dude, man. That was awesome.
I did see that.
And then he was, the Zounds guys, they hit me because they love this song, and they said, hey, we want to send you one of these with your album cover on it. And I'm, wow, thanks. And he was even like, hey, if you want one of those speaker things, I'll hook you up with them. But he didn't have to. They just came directly to me and said, we're sending you one. We love your song, and if you play it on video, that would be awesome. So, I mean, it's that thing, right? You know, I guess most people think I'm a nice guy, so you get stuff thrown at you all the time.
Well, you're a nice guy.
And sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's okay, this is okay. Hey, can you send me a shipping label so I can send this back to you so it doesn't get wasted?
Right. Yeah, that's cool though. Yeah, you know, it's a lot about, you know, the hang, like people always say, you know, it's about personality.
No, it really is, man. When you play with these guys, there's a lot of laughing backstage, and then anybody that can come and hang. I mean, right before we went on stage, everybody that wasn't performing got kicked out of the backstage area because, yeah, you don't want to be over talking and talking over loud noise, and you want to get into your stage mode kind of thing. So, okay, yeah, if you're not performing out, but then after the show, when everybody's like, great job done, and there's people that are hanging out, and it's just, there was a lot of laughing going on. And, you know, one guy that blew me away was Kevin Cronin from REO Speedwagon, because he didn't even get a rehearsal. He showed up at soundcheck, and we ran his 2 songs, and it's nicest guy and sang great, and broke a string on his acoustic and didn't care. He's just, let's rock it, man. It's just really, really, everybody's like, they're so professional, but at ease at the same time.
Right.
It's like everybody's like, man, I know what I'm doing. You guys know what you're doing. This is going to be fine.
Right. A lot of confidence. That helps, right? For everybody.
Confidence, that's a good word. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it helps for a lot of people. I got to ask you a question. You know, this is something I found out as I looked through all your stuff. Obviously, one of the things I didn't know is that you played on some of the Halestorm records. Is that true?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first one and one later.
Yeah, first one and one late after that.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was and this was really amazing. They were in the studio. We were all in the studio, and I was laying down some parts. And I go, hey Mike, I got to leave at around 8 o'clock because I'm playing at the Viper Room tonight. And no, not the Viper Room. It was the Cat Club, which isn't even there anymore. Right. Yeah, and then. So it was really amazing because I hit it off with the band. Lizzie's amazing. Joe's amazing. The whole band is killer. Great people, great players. Everybody just has their thing, right?
Right.
And then, but nobody knew who they were. Like, they were unknown at this time.
Right.
So I'm playing on the record, and when I tell Mike that I got to go to the Cat Club to play, I get to the Cat Club and I set up and I'm ready to go on. And they're standing right there at the front of the stage, like Halestorm.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, Mike told us you were playing, so we came to see you. I'm like, well, that's sweet. And then
Yeah.
I ripped their faces off because we killed it that night. So then we're all outside the front door of the Cat Club talking, and they're like, "Man, that was amazing. That's so good. See you at the studio tomorrow. We got to go get some sleep." And that's how it went. I do have to say, Lizzie has to be one of the best rock voices of our time for sure. Her voice is so amazing, and then they crafted some really amazing songs. And I was blown away by her performance at the Slash party at Gibson in 2020. There was a big room, and Slash was playing, and everybody got up. I think Billy Gibbons got up. I think Don Felder got up, and Lizzie got up, and they played a Hailstorm song, and ripped my face off. I was watching her going, "Oh my God." And then I'm talking to a friend of mine that's seen her a bunch of times. I go, there's no way she can sing a whole set like she's singing right now. Like, she's giving it everything she's got. There's no way she can do that for like 35 to 90 minutes, depending on opening spot or headlining. I think they're only headlining. And he goes, "Oh no, she'll do the whole show like that." And that blew my face off even more. Like, some people have that. Like, even when I was talking to, like, when I sing the drill stuff on the record, it's so aggressive. I have to dial back the aggressive a little bit in a drill show,
right?
Or I won't have a voice in 3 songs,
right?
And when I was hanging out with Dave Grohl in Brazil for Rock in Rio, Foo Fighters played one night, and then Bon Jovi played the next night, and we were talking about singing and warming up and stuff like that. And he was like, "Oh no, I can't sing like the record. No, I have to dial it back." I go, "Me too." He goes, "With Bon Jovi?" I go, "No, the Drills." And he's like, "Who's that?"
So Rock in Rio, what was that like? That's got to be an amazing thing to happen.
3 times now, bud.
Wow.
And every time there's a band. Like, one year it was Aerosmith the night before, and the next time it was the Foo Fighters before, and I think the year before that might have been the earliest. It was 2013. It was Nickelback before us.
Yeah.
So, but man, when you can go see Aerosmith and be like all important because you're playing there the next night, and they give you a badge and don't mess with this guy because he's playing here tomorrow, that's a pretty cool way to go see Aerosmith.
Right.
It's not you're not just a guest. You're a performer, even though you're not on that stage that night. And it was the same thing with Foo Fighters, because I was Pat and I have the same. Our daughters have the same name. They're both named Scarlett. So we met at a birthday party, and then we're both guitar geeks, and we're both Gibson guitar geeks. So he goes, "Hey man, we just got here." I'm like, "Hey, I'm hanging out backstage." He goes, "Come to the dressing room." So I went to the dressing room, and my plan, Tenacious D was on. So I went and saw a little bit of Tenacious D, and then my plan was to go see Whitesnake at the smaller stage, and then go see the Foo Fighters on the bigger stage. And that ended up being me hanging out with the Foo Fighters through the entire Whitesnake show. So I missed that. But right before, because we're talking, once you start talking, and they're asking me about playing with Bon Jovi and stuff like that. And we're talking about them and all this stuff. And then Dave's like, "Okay, Bill, get in here. We're doing the Jaeger shots." I'm like, "What?" They're like, "I haven't done a Jaeger shot at the time in 20 years or something like that."
Right.
We do it. So I'm like, "It's the Foo Fighters, so I got to do the Jaeger shot." So we do the Jaeger shot, and then we do another one, and they go on stage. And Pat goes, "You go stand by my guitar tech." So I saw the show from where Pat's guitar tech is, and it was pretty amazing. But yeah, shit like that happens because everybody's cool.
Oh yeah, that's cool. That's cool that that's an amazing. I've always heard about it. It's a massive thing. What's it? 120,000 people or something like that?
Yeah, it is. And then we killed it too. Like, I think that there's a TV Brazil or something like that you could watch it anywhere, but you had to sign into the streaming service. So my family was watching us play in Brazil live on TV with the time zone shit happening. They said it was pretty amazing, and we killed it too. I think the news reported that Bon Jovi was one of the best acts of the whole weekend. So that's kind of cool when that happens.
That's killer. Let me ask you about your choice of guitars, your SG. Now, I don't know why I don't know this, but I should know why you play an SG. But Why don't you play a super strat?
Um, I think the first thing was I was just toying with something else
Okay.
because I was so anti copycat. I
Right.
mean, you're always going to be, people, you play an SG, they're like, oh, Angus Young and Tony Iommi and anybody who plays an SG. And when
Right.
you play a super strat, it all stems back to Eddie Van Halen, who's the king, right? He's the king,
Right.
King Edward. And I just wanted to anti that, anti super strat. I like how they play, but to me, rock and roll is the guitar hanging a little lower.
Yeah.
And I love the mahogany sound, and I love the rosewood fingerboard, and I love the access to the high frets without having to gouge the bottom horn. To me, even if it's only got one pickup, like a really amazing P90 in there, I take two SGs to every drill show. Just put them in a mono double bag, head fly everywhere. I check it. I get there, my SGs are ready to rock, and being in the drills, I can play whatever I want, anything on those guitars. And there's something different about I play different on a Les Paul, and I play different on a Super Strat, and I just love how I play on an SG.
Right. Right.
It all comes together, and I love the scale length too, because I feel like my scale length has decreased with age,
Right.
where like I could never do Ice Cream Man solo.
Right. Right.
I
That's
mean,
stretch.
okay, maybe I could when I was 18, but shortly after that, I was like, I can't do that.
Right.
But there's so many different things, man. There's so many aspects to wood for me. And I don't know, we could talk about Eddie for 1 second here, because I
Sure.
feel like um, his Marshall didn't have a deep or resonance button.
Right.
And he never needed more bottom end until the Ernie Ball guitars, which were basswood,
Right.
which don't have bottom end. And that's when I kind of did the math in my head. Wait a minute. Ernie Ball guitars, the Wolfgang guitars, all the EVH stuff, it's all basswood. It's got no bottom ends. So you need that extra bass on those amps. But you didn't need it back in the day. If you were playing a good solid super strat made out of ash or alder, you had enough bottom end in the body. But that's just me, and people are going to go, that guy's fucked. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But I kind of do.
I know. I think, you got the whole tone wood thing. People get all upset about this. It's like,
I'm not going to get into that.
you're not going to get into that.
No, because people start throwing shit.
I know, right? Yeah, but there is a warmth to the to mahogany that's for me, like from my experience with it, there's a little less bright top end.
Yeah. But that's probably why people like the Les Paul over the SG, because it's got the maple cap.
Maple tap, yeah.
So for me, I get more sizzle if I like that kind of top end for me could be EQ. You know what I mean? Like sometimes if I'm playing my Les Paul in the studio,
Right.
I'll probably back the presence off, and then if I'm playing the SG, I'll turn the presence up. But then if you have a P90, you have a completely different snarly top end. So there's always something that's going to make it kind of make up for the dull. I don't get dull out of an SG. There's been a couple of SGs where I changed the pickups because I wasn't happy with the pickup that came in it.
Mm-hmm.
But in it, I have this beautiful 60th anniversary 59 burst, where as soon as I pick it up, I start playing. They go, "Wow, what pickups did you put in that?" I'm like, actually, these are the pickups that came in it because it sounded good.
Right. Right.
Like
Right.
you don't have to change all the pickups, but at the same time that as I got that guitar, I got a 57 gold top custom shop, which is the gold is beautiful, and it's also a dark back. So instead of it being like a light stain on the mahogany, it's a dark stain, and that guitar looks fantastic. It's the one with the light where the toggle goes. And that guitar, I put my Arcane PX8 in it, and now every time I plug in, people are like, oh, "That's one of the best sounding Les Pauls I've ever heard in my life." So it depends on the guitar. Depends on I went crazy. I'm always like going through. I just want clarity. Whether it's my new overdrive pedal, which is the PXO, or my pickups that I designed with Arcane. I want clarity. I just want to. I want to hit a chord and hear every note in that chord with separation, as opposed to it being a mush.
Right. I think that's what.
So that's the goal. That's the goal always.
I think all guitar players kind of want that definition between all the strings.
Well, do they?
I mean, I did. I'd always wanted that, the top end, but like when Eddie would go up high originally when he went up high, it would like, you would never get that shrillness when he got up high.
Yeah. Well, what live performance did I just hear? I forget. There's so many things that are floating around now.
Right. That stuff came out.
Totally. If you listen to Edward at 23 in 1978, playing the way he was playing, you're like, oh my God. Like, if there was ever a doubt, which there shouldn't be a doubt, there's no doubt now. Well, I just said the same thing twice. But there's one performance, I don't know if it was 82 or 84, where his guitar sounds really single coily.
Yeah.
It's really loud in the mix.
Right.
And it's like, wow. Like, because he was a tinkerer. He was always messing with pickups and stuff. So was that a bad night with the bad pickup that he was just trying out? Or it was the pickup dead from him sweating like a camel?
Well, there was that pickup that they always talked about being, it was the Frankenstein pickup, wasn't it? It had a bad coil or whatever. It was like, there was always that discussion.
That's got to be the thing. I think when he was winding his own stuff, I learned this from Rob at Arcane. He was saying, if you mismatch the coils, like a lot of humbuckers have matched coils, like winding.
Yeah.
So if you mismatch the coils, it gets a little single coily. Okay. So it could have been a time that he mismatched the coils so much that the whole guitar was way too single coily. But at least it didn't have the hum of a single coil.
Yeah.
But still, I was listening to that going, oh my God, that's kind of brittle up there.
You can hear that when he's playing the US Festival tape. It's real.
But it's so clean, dude.
Yeah.
You know what my favorite one now? I love, and I said this once before, when you listen to the isolated track of Hang 'Em High.
Yeah.
I personally feel like if he would have had the Van Halen 1 rig playing that song, it would have been a mess.
Right.
Like it was cleaner and a little punchier and not as buzzy. It sounds amazing. And then the other one is Hot for Teacher, man. Hot for Teacher on a Flying V, a 58 Flying V. And when you listen to that, it's so clean.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. What do you think the percent is? How many people on Instagram that play Van Halen could play Hot for Teacher with that little gain?
Yeah, it's pretty low. Like you said, even when it hits the rhythm, even full out, it's not that much.
No. And it's so accurate and so pocket. It's so amazing. Right. I'd say it's 7%.
Right.
That's super low.
Well, me and John had a deep dive that's about to come out. Your buddy in Bon Jovi had the biggest deep dive on Van Halen I've had in a while, since probably you.
He was there, man. He told me some amazing stuff. Yeah, I'm sure you got it all. That's awesome.
An hour and 45 minutes until we were both wore out.
So funny.
It was killer, man. I don't want to keep you all day, man. Thanks for coming on, brother. Being the first guest.
Oh man, I'm pretty excited that I'm a first guest.
Well,
I mean, that was a good chat, man. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much, and thank you for being my buddy for the last few years, man. I really appreciate that.
Anytime. And that's and next time I'm in Atlanta, or next time we're at the NAMM show, or next time we're at somewhere in the same room in the same vicinity, we'll have a tequila.
Uh-oh. I hadn't had a tequila in a while.
Okay, then we won't have a tequila.
All right, man.
We'll have a burger.
That's good.
All right, buddy.
Thank you, buddy. Have a good
Take
one.
care, man.
Okay,
See ya.
bye-bye. Bye-bye.